We didn't do actually any paid ads. There were people who were like, suits can't be real, like cosplay. That can't count as a costume. And I took that personally.
We sold out of a lot of styles very quickly with our first collection.
Is there any advice that you can give someone that's listening now that's getting into the licensing process?
Give yourself a lot of time. And also, don't be afraid to get super creative.
For the quality that we ship, our prices should be high. It's not just a character on a t-shirt because we want quality and we want ethical manufacturing.
People don't really understand the amount of work involved.
It's really easy to get burnt out.
I want to know what's next for you and also what's happening with Fira.
Yeah.
Every licensing journey starts with a dream and sometimes a walk in the park. For Jasmine and Vincent of Fira, that walk led to launching their first licensed collection with My Hero Academia, navigating approvals, building quality products, and balancing their personal relationship with business partnership. Today, they share their first-hand experience of becoming licensees and the surprises they discovered along the way. I hope you like it. Before we dive into today's show, I wanted to share something really exciting with you. For the first time ever, I'm opening my vault of nearly 20 years of licensing experience through my online course, Learn to License. Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up your licensing game, this is everything I wish I'd known when I began my journey. From deal structures to finding the right license, knowing if you're ready and how to pitch like a pro, it's all there. The fundamentals that separate successful licensors from everyone else. Visit learntolicense.com and let's get you from curious to confident. Now, let's jump into today's episode. Jasmine and Vincent, I'm super excited to be speaking with you today because I've seen your licensing journey firsthand, which has been a true honor. We're going to go through all of that today, from how the concept of Fira was started to how you launched your first licensed product. So Jasmine, Vincent, thanks so much for joining us on the Born to License podcast.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks for having
It's
us.
nice to be here. Yeah.
So the idea of Fira was sparked during a walk in a park during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Can you take us back to that conversation? How did it come up and what was discussed?
So normally, I'm a cosplayer, and influencer online. So normally I go to a lot of conventions. I guess at a lot of conventions. We're used to traveling a lot. And during the pandemic, all of us were just sat in one spot for a long time. And I was like, I miss going on vacations. I miss going to conventions. I miss traveling. We've been in the house for a really long time. I wish there was a way to like combine all those things together. And so Vincent was like, hey, we should do like a cosplay trip type of thing where you make a costume, but it's like appropriate for the location. So if we're going to the beach, you should make like a swimsuit or something like that that fits the character so you can get your costume fix and your vacation fix. So I was like, okay. I made like a swimsuit version of a character, and we did the trip. It was really great. I posted pictures after we came back, and there were people who were like, suits can't be real, like cosplay. That it can't count as a costume. And I took that personally. It was like, oh, all right, bet. And so initially I started just doing like nerdy swimsuit designs in general, just stuff that felt like tropes of whether like a princess or something like that. Just something that felt high quality and really nice that didn't feel costumey. And then people really gravitated to those designs. And from there, Vincent and I were like, hey, let's grow this and take this beyond just swimsuits. Like, let's create like actual clothing. This is clearly a niche that, people haven't really addressed yet, where you have clothing that really appeals to people who are into nerdy things, but at the same time doesn't feel super cheap or feel like it was made for kids, like it was made with actual thought to the design, the details, and not just kind of throwing some art on a t-shirt and calling it a day. And that kind of started us being interested in licensing in general because we're like, okay, more than just generic nerdy themes, it would be really cool if we could apply this concept to very specific IP. And I feel like it was something that combined both of our skills really well because I do cosplay and I also did concept art for several years at a AAA game studio. And Vincent, he's very business minded. He's the smart one. I hit him the creative flow, and so he was able to kind of do all the behind the scenes stuff, and together it just kind of like made sense. And now we're here. Sorry, I
Tell me about no. Yeah, so tell me about the reaction. So, going back to that walk in the park, you decided to do it when you first launched your first collection. Tell me about the reaction.
It was amazing. We were actually surprised. So, for a brand new business, us being brand new to clothing as a business, we sold out of a lot of styles very quickly with our first collection. And I think a lot of that has to do with uh just the community that Jasmine has built as a cosplayer, but also like she mentioned, like the thoughtfulness of the design. So it's not just, a character on a t-shirt. At that time, we're just doing like loosely inspired things, like she mentioned, like based off of like a princess concept. But I think our attention to detail, attention to quality, and also we're really big on ethical business too. There's a lot of clothing manufacturers that, have workers that are not treated the best. There's a lot of like child labor and things that we're just like, it's not worth it to us. We rather pay the right amount to have partners that have a good well-being, and they can afford to live good lives as well, and then also that comes out in the clothing. So we definitely typically pay more for our bulk production clothing, but also because we want quality and we want ethical manufacturing. So that was kind of another big part to us as well that I think really came through in that initial launch.
And I think people could see that, and we got a lot of comments on in general just the quality and people really like immediately trying to see what we were doing in terms of trying to make something that was premium that appealed to the more nerdy side of the
I think what's also interesting is like, of course, when you first launch too, there are some who are like, why is this, at this price point? But it was funny to see, the people who were excited who bought and how they got it, they're like, wait, this is actually amazing quality.
People were surprised.
Yeah, they were. And one of my favorite comments of feedback we got ever was someone said, I have a designer swimsuit that costs more than this that is not as good quality. So that like by itself helped to just kind of like reinvigorate our drive and just be excited about what we created.
That's awesome feedback to get from your customers. So you launched your first licensed collection this year, and we're going to get to that. But first, I wanted to know, why was licensing something that you wanted to get into in the first place?
I would say, based for me, being a cosplayer, being someone who already likes doing specific characters and specific IP. When we first started the brand, we just kind of noticed like, hey, this is something that's missing, and I would like to be able to contribute ideas and designs for specific characters. I see this space, I see this hole, and it's just like I have ideas. I want to be able to help and contribute, and from there it was really that simple. Like we already doing specific characters. I was like, if I could do this character, like if I was making a costume, this is what I would do. And if I was making like an actual outfit to sell, this is what I would do. But I can't make that outfit to sell because we don't own that. So let's figure out how to do this legitimately. And yeah, that came to our hunt of finding you guys.
Yeah, well, let's talk about your first licensed collection, which was the popular anime brand My Hero Academia. Why was that property the one that you went with first?
So you want me to take this
Yeah,
first?
yeah,
Okay, cool. So I would say, My Hero Academia is something that we've always been a fan of since it first, came out. And I think just in general, even beyond My Hero Academia, we're very big on, we only want to work with a property that we're actually fans of, we're passionate about, but also that can fit our brand and can inspire her creative juices to flow and to create awesome designs as well. And so in that, Venn diagram of what we're looking for, my hero definitely, ticked a lot of boxes. And I think it's something that we were excited to get started with.
and I think it made a lot of sense too, because the character designs for My Hero Academia are so specific. They have a lot of really strong iconography. And I felt like with them having strong iconography, it really lent itself to having designs that stood out and would be really easy to kind of like catch and understand when you just first glance at them. And therefore, it felt like a very strong, first step into doing this.
How important do you think it was that you were fans of the first property you were licensing? Because, in the licensing world, there's a lot of people that are just told that this is a popular property, I'm going to go and license that, but I actually don't know it. How important do you think it was that you knew My Hero Academia, you were a fan of the show?
So, okay, so I'll say, like, from a passion perspective, I think it's of the utmost importance. I know that, like, obviously money runs the world, and, people, large companies partner and want to do stuff, and they just want to, like we said before, there's lots of companies that just put a face on a t-shirt and sell it. And if they have the audience, great, they make money. But, like, it's about more than that for us, right? Like, this company is our baby too. And it's like, we want to do everything, well and of high quality, but we also want it to align with our passion, because otherwise we can just, do our 9 to 5 jobs, right? Like, this is something that we're passionate about, that we just want to, bring to life. And we just feel that, being a fan of it means that your passion being well integrated into every part of the launch process shows. And I think that when people actually get the product, and a lot of people who aren't even My Hero Academia fans really love the product too, right? Just because it's stylish. So I think that's the great part too, is we want to make a product where even if someone's not a fan of the IP, they can buy it and say, maybe I should actually check that out.
And from a practical standpoint as well, we were, like I said, a small company, and we're kind of growing partially, well, not partially, in large part due to the fact that I'm a creator. And so we also wanted to make sure we made something that we felt like would resonate with my audience. And ultimately, our goal is to grow past just my audience. But being a small company, you knew that we were kind of starting with that. So it's kind of like, okay, what am I a fan of? What are you a fan of? What is something that is going to inspire my own design sense? What is something that's going to resonate with my audience and like cause them to share it and spread it out as well? And My Hero Academia just kind of hit all of those boxes for us.
And was that part of the process? Was that you kind of like dug into what the property actually meant to you, what My Hero Academia meant to you, and then you'd sort of developed the collection based on that? Because essentially you're a fan, so you would also know what fans are looking for from a collection like this.
Exactly. And I think it helps to kind of know, hey, I know what I will want to wear. I know what I see walking around at cons. I know what my friends wear and like what their fashion sense is. And from there, just trying to make something, quite frankly, that I like.
And that you look good in as well, because I think part of the big thing, particularly with the Fira brand, is that you're also a cosplay influencer. You're very well known in that space, and so if you look good in it, people will be like, "Oh, great! She looks great. I'm gonna go buy that product."
Exactly. And I think fashion is like that in general. That's why, we have models and stuff, right? You want to inspire an image of like, oh, if this person looks great, then I will also look great. And then when people get the clothing and then it feels great and they're touching and they're like, oh my God, this quality, and they see it and they put it on, it gives them confidence as well. And so I think just all that together just works really well for our brand, and it makes me really happy that we chose MHA for our launch, for our first like licensed launch.
You mentioned quality, and I remember when we first started working together, and you sent some samples to the team, and that was the first thing that I thought of when I was actually feeling the product was like, wow, this is exceptional quality. How important was it to develop something that was just really good quality for the end user rather than doing something as cheap as possible and making, as big a margin as you possibly can?
For me, that was extremely important. That was one of the main things we wanted to do when we started the business, because there's a lot of like really cheap kind of bootleg like Instagram ads and stuff you see for anime and all sorts of things where it's like you buy it, it falls apart after you wash it twice. It doesn't look that great. It feels like paper when you put it on. And it just felt like, hey, we need a space for people who, like me, quite frankly, when I'm not wearing nerdy stuff, I like nice quality things. I buy premium fashion, designer fashion. I like nice stuff. And it's like, hey, there are nerds out here who have money that like buying nice things. So let's combine the nice things with the nerdy things. It doesn't have to be cheap. It's not meant for people who are, just buying something quick for their kid or something. Like, we're out here. And so we felt like there was a perfect market for it. And like I said before, I want to make things that I want to wear, and I don't like wearing cheap, low quality things. So therefore, I'm like, I'm gonna give the people what I want and what they also want, which is just something that feels nice. You want to feel like you spent your money on something that was worth it, and so I'm glad that people feel like our clothes are worth it.
And I'll add to that, Jazz is very community minded too, because honestly, for the quality that we ship, our prices should be higher.
We could.
I mean, other companies that are very, they have shareholders and a board and all that good stuff. Like, they are very margin driven, and so are we. We still have to run a business, but I would say that, if we were following the same rule book, our prices would be higher and our margins would be even better. But I think, to Jaslyn's point about her passion and still wanting to provide quality, but also still being at a price point where fans can afford it, right? We still want to serve the community, because without the community that we have and that we're building, that I think that is more so, something that's valuable to our long-term vision, right? Is we really want to serve the community. And so that's how we came to that, that perfect marriage of, okay, we have to have certain margins, but also we want certain quality at the right price point for our community.
Yeah, I think that's super important. Let's talk about the licensing component of this, because this was your first sort of venture into licensing. Tell me about some of the surprises that came up throughout the process, whether good surprises, bad surprises, neither, both.
So I will say one of the biggest surprises was just approval time. Because, it takes a long time to get approvals. And of course, like, for us, if there's a change, like, it's not something simple. And also because we have more complicated designs, we do have attention to detail and quality. Like, changes that we make take a while, right? It's not like it's just a simple screen print on a t-shirt. Like, we have custom hardware, custom embroidery, very detailed patterns, and so it's something that, just trying to build in and understand, especially for our first license, how long is this going to take to get approved? How is this going to affect the timeline? Because everything, at the end of the day, is a prerequisite to something else that impacts, the launch time.
Which is obviously very difficult for us on our first launch, because we're used to just doing our own stuff. So we're used to being able to be pretty agile. And so now you have to kind of plan for more cooks in the kitchen a bit. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. This comes with the territory, and we understand that. It's just an adjustment, I think, to have an answer to somebody else. So,
and you're certainly not alone in feeling like this. I think that if I was to ask 100 different companies the same question, that 98% of them would have the same answer, is that the approval just It was, just a bit of a laborious process. What I will say is that you've dealt with sort of one of the most challenging areas of entertainment for your first one. Anime is notorious for just
Yeah.
having more hurdles, more processes. It takes longer.
Yeah.
So hopefully, if you go down the path of another license that might be in a different space, you would have done the hard yards, and the next one will be easier. Is there any advice that you can give someone that's listening now that's maybe getting into the licensing process, just they've just signed their first license, they're getting into the approval process? Do you have any advice that you'd want to share with them?
I would say for me, so I don't know if you would
Yeah.
agree. I would say two things. I want to say first, give yourself a lot of time because you think something is going to be approved immediately and then it's not, and it's going to be the weirdest stuff that they call out, and you're like, oh, this is not the part I thought y'all were going to have a problem with. Um, so give yourself time to deal with the back and forth. And also don't be afraid to get super creative. Cause I think for us what was very interesting is that, again, this might just be anime specific, but when I was trying to use a lot of their assets, that was when I got a lot of no's. And then when I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do my own thing and kind of like make my own thing that's clearly representative of the IP, but it's my own creative idea and not their approved assets at all. Yeah, they were like, this is fine, this is great. And I was like, oh, I didn't think that y'all would be cool with me taking this and kind of making it its own thing. So get creative and they'll actually probably appreciate your creativity. So yeah. What do you think?
I'd say from the other side, don't be afraid to hear no. We heard a lot of no's throughout the process, but I'm still glad that we tried and we still proposed lots of ideas. And I think, and I hope that the team at My Hero Academia understands that that's all about passion, right? We wouldn't try to push so much forward if we weren't passionate about it. And so, like, I would just say, don't be so scared of the approval process that you limit what you submit either, right? Definitely ask the question if there's something you want to do. And like Jasmine said, we found that when she was created, it ended up, getting a better approval rate than using the actual assets provided to it. So
Yeah. And I know that you worked with my team at Born to License. Can you tell me a little bit about, how that experience was and maybe what the benefits are of working with a licensing agency that can sort of help you navigate through this challenging process?
definitely, I definitely say just the industry specific knowledge, right? Like we mentioned, this is our first time with a license, and so we don't know what is the norm and what isn't, right? We don't know what is status quo and what isn't. We don't know. We can assume, but we just don't know. It's similar to like when a company wants to hire someone with experience, right? I mean, it's great to give someone a first shot, but sometimes we do need that subject matter expertise. And so just that knowledge around the licensing industry, I think is probably the answer for me to your question.
For both of us. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
So
So let's go to the launch, because when this launched, it was everywhere. It was unavoidable. The response was so amazing. I saw that you picked up so much brilliant press, the licensing press, but also just the general kind of B2B press, which was really impressive, and the consumer press as well. Tell us about the launch and tell us about the feedback that you got.
So the launch we approached from a lot of different angles. We did get also a PR agency because we're like, I don't know how we're gonna get articles and stuff. That's something that's out of my wheelhouse. I know how to use social media, but in terms of like getting actual articles, that's hard. So we did get extra help. And they were wonderful and were able to connect us with like Business Insider and that kind of thing. And also being an influencer has its perks. The world of being an influencer is very big, but it's also very small. So I know a lot of people and I definitely cashed in a lot of favorites I was like, hey guys, hi. I'm trying to do something new. I'm trying to do something different. It's gonna be big. Would you mind modeling for me, please?
And they were all super enthusiastic about it. That was
Yeah.
awesome thing to see is everyone was, who showed up to the shoot and modeled for us. I mean, and also even their feedback. They love the clothing. So it's like it wasn't hard because it wasn't like they were modeling something they didn't believe in either. As soon as they saw it and felt it, they're like, wow, this is good quality. Like I want that. You know what I mean? And so that was awesome to see as well.
Yeah, and it was very valuable because the influencers that I knew, they also have just as big, if not bigger audiences than I do. So when we were able to first launch and you have like the photos and the videos and the imagery of all of these influencers that are in the nerdy space that have, huge reach, and then they're also sharing stuff, it led to a lot of just organic spread. And so we were able to hit a lot of people and hit a lot of people who were surprised. They're like, I didn't know you knew all these people. It's like, yep, yeah, we're cool. So being able to just have that many views and stuff just organically, plus having the articles like together, it just worked. It was really good synergy, and people really vibed with the designs and they liked what they saw, and it just kind of was super organic because outside of the actually getting the PR help for articles and stuff, we didn't do actually any paid ads. So in terms of like paid like Google ads, Instagram, like Meta, Pinterest, we wouldn't do any paid advertisement. It was all just kind of either articles or people's
social engagement or our existing like text and email list that we built as well.
A quick pause here. If what we're discussing is really resonating with you, you're going to love what I've put together in Learn to License. This isn't just another course. It's 2 decades of real-world licensing experience distilled into actionable strategies you can use immediately. I've worked with everyone from startups to Fortune 500 brands, and the patterns for success are surprisingly consistent. The course covers all things that you need to consider when it comes to licensing, particularly those who are just starting out. So visit learntolicense.com. Your future licensing deals will thank you. All right, back to our conversation. Let's talk about you two. You know that I love you guys. I love how you work as a couple. I think it's really sweet. I think you make great business partners as well as life partners. And so with Jasmine leading the creative, Vincent handling operations, tell me, what's the secret? How do you make both the personal and professional partnership work?
So you want to take that? So as far as the professional, I'd say it works well because the partnership works. Like she's my best friend. Like I know I don't want to sound cliche, but like she's just an amazing wife, an amazing partner, and I think we built such a strong foundation in our relationship that it really enhances us as business partners. In fact, I'd say most disagreements we have are around the business, not around our relationship. Yeah. Like, and so I'd say for anyone who's interested in doing that with a partner or a friend, you should definitely have a solid relationship before you go into business together. But I think that actually enhances our communication around running the business.
And I also think that it helps that we both bring completely different things to the business. I think that if we were both doing the same thing, we would have a lot more clashing. But when it comes to like creative decisions, Vince is automatically like, Jasmine, do that. Yeah. Like I'm not gonna even worry about that. And vice versa. When it comes to like the
customer service, shipping, logistics,
I'm like,
all the back end stuff.
My brain doesn't work that way. And so because like our individual skill sets outside the business and for business, like they complement each other so well, and we're able to kind of do the whole left brain, right brain thing, it ends up coming together to be like a really good unified structure.
I agree.
I think that's some really good advice. One, have a strong relationship prior to going down the path of working together. But then two, it really helps if you have complementary skills and knowledge, because then you can easily separate and say, well, this is your space, this is my space. And then I guess there's less opportunity for you guys to butt heads because you've already delegated certain areas to each of you.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's good. It sounds like a perfect arrangement. Jasmine, let's talk about you and your online presence a bit more. You have, I think, now over 2 million followers. I'm curious to know, how do you find time to continue engaging with fans, continuing to have that high profile that you have while running Fearware with Vincent?
It's hard. It's a lot. It was even worse because like when we first started, I still had my full-time job too of doing concept art. And I was trying to balance all three, and that was not sustainable. So when I switched to being able to do just social media and the business full time, still a lot, but it made things a little bit easier. Luckily, the business so far for us kind of works in spurts. So I just have to plan it by day. So it's like, okay, this day I'm not going to do any fearware stuff. I'm just going to focus on my social media engagement. I might focus on just, I want to film a whole bunch of content this day and I'll edit it. And then it'll be easier for me to post on the other days and not give that much attention, so then I can focus on fearware, like brainstorming and designs and things like that.
But I'll say at the same time, like there's only so many hours in a day, and we're only two people running all these activities, just us, for her social media presence, for Fearware, down to like every package I ship, she's designing everything. And so I think we've gotten to the point where we want to scale and grow. And I think we're starting to see the limit to that with just two people. And so one lesson we're learning is, okay, in order to scale and grow, we have to invest in more help too. So I think we're reaching that point where, okay, from a, social media presence perspective and from a fear perspective, how do we strategically, get the right amount of help so that we can, continue the growth pattern that we've had.
Yeah, we gotta learn how to delegate. And that's hard. That's hard for me since I'm used to, like, at least in the social media world, I'm doing everything by myself pretty much. Like I'll tell them to hold the camera, but outside of that, I kind of run everything. And so learning to kind of give up a little bit of control and give it to someone else is something that I'm trying to figure out right now because I can't do everything. So working on it.
I think that people don't really understand the amount of work involved for you to continue having that engagement and that high profile. You're shooting the content, you're editing the content. Anyone that has edited content, you don't really know how long it actually takes. You're in a shooting, you have to get the lighting right and everything, and you actually have to get into the actual cosplay. Like there is so much. Whenever I see any of your content, I'm always like, wow, that must have taken so long to set up, to shoot, and then to edit, and it just looks brilliant every time that you're posting something. Outside of that, like what other things you have to, people are constantly messaging you, asking you things. You're probably getting thrown promotional partnership opportunities all the time that you need to assess and see, is that right for me? Is it going to be worth my time? Yeah. Can you tell me a bit more about what that life is like? Because I don't know.
I have an agent, so having an agent helps a little bit on just the talent promotional side. So he handles my emails for me in terms of like when I get sponsorships and sussing out like what's a legitimate one versus what's not worth my time. So that's kind of nice. I do have to do a lot of just like messaging management, just planning out content too, and trying to stay relevant is really hard. Trying to think of like, okay, here's a whole list of ideas that I need to film and I need to do it in this amount of time or else it's not going to be, relevant to the public consciousness anymore. So it requires a lot of just thinking.
But also, like, I think on top of all the influencer responsibility she mentioned, as a cosplayer, she also builds her outfits, right? She makes and builds all her cosplays. And that is another, serious time sink as well that she balances as well.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of the amount of time that would take as well.
Sewing, armor making, everything. Yeah.
And it's hard too to keep up a little bit because we're in like the social media age of everybody wants everything now,
right now,
fast, all the time. And if you're building your own stuff, it's like, well, this takes hours and days and weeks to do. So let's try to figure out how to like stretch this content and stretch this costume and all that as much as possible. So right now I'm in the process of trying to figure out how to like get more bang for my buck in terms of my costumes and our travel when we go to conventions and that kind of thing. So I'm working on that right now, but it's definitely a lot of balls to juggle.
So do you have any room for like outside of what you do on social and the influencer side of things and Fearware, do you have any room for hobbies or sleep or anything else like that?
Uh, let's see. I would say that like we work hard, play hard type of thing.
Yeah.
So sleep is hard. It's a lot of work. But I will also say like when it comes time to like take a vacation or a trip, we go all in.
Go all out.
All right, like we're gonna go to nice places and we're relaxing. We are relaxing. I like being able to just kind of separate myself for a bit and not put too much work in on our vacation. So like as an example, last year I had a convention where it was in South Africa where I was guesting. Like they asked me to come out there, so I was like, okay, this is work, but also we're going over to the other side of the world. So we're gonna make this
And vacation too.
some
After
vacation
the work.
because we've been working hard. We need some time to just chill. So we did South Africa, right? But like we went to Johannesburg. I did the convention. It was awesome. But also after that, we were like, all right, let's go on a safari. Like let's go to Seychelles. Let's go just sit on the beach for a minute. Like let's relax. And so that was also like the best trip in my life.
Yeah.
It was like part work and then nothing, but just having fun. So yeah, work hard, play hard.
I love that. I mean, that's a proper opportunity to kind of step back, reset, because I think that, as a business owner myself, you can really get in the weeds of the day-to-day business. And, if you don't allow yourself the opportunity to kind of, bubble up to the surface and look around and just remind yourself what you've achieved and what's most important, which is, your health, your mental health, your family and friends, and those parts of your life are crucially important as well. I think that's a really good lesson for anybody listening to make sure, follow Jasmine and Vincent's advice is, play hard, but also you do need to take some time to just relax and unwind.
And it's hard too, especially when you have your own business, because like it's not a clear 9 to 5. You're always doing something.
Constantly.
And so it's really easy to get burnt out because you think like, oh, well, I technically had a weekend. It was like, no, you were answering emails. You were still doing designs. You're still doing stuff. You're still planning content. You're still doing these things. You're like, oh, but no, it's a Saturday. But was it though? Was it actually? And so it can be really easy to kind of have work bleed over into just your Lila. And so you have to be careful about that and make sure you give yourself time and grace to just like actually not work for a minute.
And I think too, part of that is the passion of it, right? Like we'll just be talking about something else and we'll have an idea for the business and then
now we're talking about where
now we're working and so it really does, like it has no bounds when it's your business. So I think that's something we're trying to work on is how do we, still allow our creativity to thrive and, we're so passionate about our business, but also how do we, set boundaries that are healthy for us as well.
Yeah, I can certainly relate to that. Prior to having my own agency, I worked at Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network, and I do remember most of the time, if I was to go on leave, I'd go on a holiday, and I wouldn't check emails. The thought of wherever I am in the world, whether I'm meant to be on holiday or not, the thought of not checking my emails actually makes me quite anxious. But that's something that I need to work on. I think perhaps I need to, take some of your advice and just make sure that when I'm switched off, I'm properly switched off. And I think a lot of people listening can probably relate to that. In this day and age, when emails and everything is just so accessible, you can be contacted so many different ways.
Yeah.
Maybe leaving the phone in the hotel room is a good place to potentially. Let's look ahead to the future. I want to know what's next for you personally, for both of you, and also what's happening with Fearware. Let's start with you two personally. What does the future hold, and then we can talk about Fearware.
So yeah, I'd say, I mean, personally, as far as like her influencing and as for me, we just have a lot of awesome events planned. I don't know how much I can talk about. I don't want to like.
No, you can talk about it.
Okay, so I'll just say this: like we have some potential like movie premieres coming up. Jasmine has a lot of awesome like cosplay projects. Personally for me, and I'm also balancing my 9 to 5 in the energy technology space, which is very different. But as far as personal, I think we're just trying to grow everything that we have going on right now, and it's hard to separate it, honestly. I know you asked aside from Fearware, but I think a lot of what we're excited about too does tie directly into Fearware.
Yeah, because we're already like in the process of concepting a theme for next year for our original designs that aren't licensed. And trying to figure out like how do we turn it into just like a thing, and try to capture virality and get people excited and essentially try to come up with something that's like our own IP.
Yeah.
So we're in the process of workshopping that now, and it's been really exciting because I've just been able to like go crazy with brainstorming and stuff, and that's been super fun. But I know this was supposed to be personal and not work, so I'm trying to think. We're going to Mexico.
Yeah,
That week.
that's our vacation because all of our travel has been work and we've been going nonstop. So we're gonna spend a couple days in Mexico and that'll be fun. But back to work real quick. I do want to mention before I forget, what Jasmine mentioned about us balancing our own original designs and IP. I think what's really cool, and I'm gonna brag on her a little bit. Her background as a concept artist, her position as an influencer in the fandom, in a lot of different fandoms. Like she has the potential to create something that, where one day maybe we could license something, as well. Like that's what I'm excited about is like, yes, we're licensing and creating fashion based off of that, but our hope is we can take some of our original concept and designs and take it from just, from even fashion and having that be something that's licensable. So kind of doing both ends, I think is something we love to do in the future as well. So that's like what our focus is going to be, I think, in 2026 and 2027.
Yeah, we're.
I love the idea of transitioning from licensee to licensor. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Jasmine, Vincent, if people want to connect with you, how can they find you?
So we are Fearware on all platforms, mainly Facebook and Instagram primarily, and our website is firaxwear.com. The X is silent. And for me personally, I'm Cutie Pie Sensei pretty much everywhere. I keep telling people, if you type in Cutie Pie, you'll probably find me. So, yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thanks so much again for joining us on the Born to License podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Born to License podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're eager to learn more about licensing, I encourage you, take a look at my course, Learn to License. I've condensed almost 20 years of learning in my licensing career to help others understand how licensing works. And as a reward for sticking around, here is a discount code for you to put in. I hope to see you there.